The rain is pouring so hard I can barely see the house. My mattress is soaking through. The wooden dresser I bought with my first paycheck is swelling at the edges. My desk, the one I built myself, is face down in a puddle, and my mother is standing inside the doorway, watching. I step out of my car slowly. My phone vibrates. A text from her. "Come get what's yours." I zoom in on the screen. My hands are steady. My chest is not. Every single thing on that lawn, I paid for it. Every lamp, every shelf, every drawer. The rain hits my face, but I don't wipe it away. I don't cry. I don't scream. I take photos, one by one. Then I get back into my car and drive away. 2 days later, they receive official papers, and that's when they realize what I really did. Before I go on, if this story speaks to you, please hit like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with it. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. I love knowing where you all are when you hear this. Now, let me take you back to the story. My name is Addison Hale. I'm 23, and I'm telling this because sometimes the quiet daughter is the most dangerous one. I used to believe family meant safety. We lived in a quiet suburb outside Columbus. Clean lawns, American flags on porches, neighbors who smiled but listened through their windows. My parents loved control more than they loved me. They liked to say I was dramatic, that I owed them, that everything I had was because of them. But that room upstairs, that was mine. I worked 2 part-time jobs while attending community college, one at a coffee shop, one at a small marketing firm downtown. Every paycheck went into that room. I bought my own queen bed, my own desk, my own laptop, my own closet shelves. My father once said, "You act like you're independent." I didn't answer, because I was. Things started changing when I told them I was moving out. I had saved enough for a small apartment near Cleveland, nothing fancy, just mine. My mother laughed when I told her, "You can't survive without us." I showed her the lease. That's when the atmosphere shifted. They stopped talking to me normally. Dinner became silent, doors closed harder. Then the real problem came out. They wanted rent, back payment rent, for 3 years. For a room I furnished, for utilities I barely used, for raising me. I thought they were joking. They weren't. They handed me a handwritten paper with numbers on it, over $18,000. "You don't get to walk away for free," my father said. I remember staring at that paper and feeling something inside me change. Not break, change. I calmly explained that I had paid for my own things, that I covered my own car insurance, that I paid for groceries sometimes. My mother leaned back in her chair. "Then take your things and go." I said, "Okay." I thought it was a bluff. It wasn't. 2 days before my official move-out date, I was at work when my phone exploded with messages. A neighbor sent me a photo. My entire bedroom on the front lawn, in a storm warning. I drove home shaking, not crying, shaking. And that's when I saw it, my life thrown into the rain like trash. They didn't open the garage. They didn't knock on my door. They didn't call. They just dumped everything outside. My childhood neighbor, Mrs. Bentley, peeked from behind her curtain. I could feel the humiliation in the air. My mother stood at the door. "Take what's yours," she said, like a stranger, like she wasn't her daughter. I could have screamed. I could have begged. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started documenting everything. Close-ups of water damage, serial numbers, receipts I still had in my email. My father laughed. "Planning to sue us?" he asked. I looked him in the eye. "No." And that was the only honest lie I told that week. I drove away with nothing in my car, because I didn't need wet furniture. I needed leverage. That night in my empty apartment in Cleveland, sitting on the floor with no bed, I opened my laptop and I started researching tenant rights, property law, small claims court, and something much bigger. Because they didn't just destroy furniture, they committed something they didn't even realize. And when I confirmed it, I smiled. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally had power. The first night in my apartment felt strangely peaceful. No yelling downstairs, no footsteps outside my door, no tension in the walls, just silence. I sat on the hardwood floor with a blanket and my laptop glowing in front of me. If they thought dumping my things in the rain would scare me, they misunderstood me completely. It focused me. I began organizing everything like a project. Step 1, proof. I logged into my email and searched for receipts. Every Amazon order, every furniture store invoice, every payment confirmation. Desk, mine. Bed frame, mine. Bookshelf, mine. Lamp, mine. Even the mattress, all purchased with my debit card. Then I organized the photos I took in the rain. I labeled each file carefully. Water damage, dresser. Mattress outside, timestamp. Terrace front lawn, evidence. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. And calm is dangerous when someone has been pushed too far. The next morning, I visited a small legal aid office near downtown Akron. The waiting room smelled like old paper and coffee. A young legal assistant named Brooklyn called my name. She looked about my age, maybe younger, with bright sneakers and tired eyes. "So," she said, "tell me what happened." I showed her the photos. Her eyebrows lifted immediately. "Did you pay for these items yourself?" she asked. "Yes." "Do you have receipts?" "Yes." "Did they give you written notice before removing your belongings?" "No." She leaned back in her chair slowly. That's not good for them. For the first time since the rainstorm, I felt warmth in my chest. Not revenge, validation. Brooklyn explained something my parents never expected me to learn. Once I turned 18 and began paying for my own property, those items legally belonged to me, even inside their house. Dumping them outside during a storm? That counted as property destruction. And there was more. When I mentioned the handwritten rent debt paper, Brooklyn asked to see it. I had taken a photo. She stared at it for a long moment. "Did they ever legally rent the room to you?" she asked. "No." "Did you sign anything?" "No." She smiled. "That paper means nothing." I felt lighter than I had in years. But then Brooklyn said something that changed everything. "You could file a small claims case, but honestly, there's a stronger option." My stomach tightened. What option? Formal demand documentation, followed by civil filing if they refuse compensation. In simple terms, make them fix it or face consequences. Not emotional consequences, legal ones. Brooklyn helped me calculate the damages. The number came out to just over $6,400. Seeing it written down made everything real. That wasn't just furniture. That was 2 years of saving, 2 years of believing I was building independence inside a home that didn't want me to have it. Before I left, Brooklyn said something I'll never forget. People think control lasts forever. It doesn't once you learn the rules. For the next 2 days, I rebuilt my room slowly, not with furniture, with documentation, timeline of events, photo evidence, purchase records, witness statements from my neighbor who texted me the picture. I printed everything, organized it into a folder, simple, clean, undeniable. Then I drafted the formal notice. Reading it back to myself felt unreal. It didn't sound like the quiet daughter my parents ignored for years. It sounded like someone they didn't know, someone they couldn't control. On the second evening, I mailed the envelope. Certified delivery, signature required. 2 copies. One for my mother, one for my father. When I walked out of the post office, my hands weren't shaking anymore. For the first time in my life, I wasn't reacting to them. They were about to react to me, and they had no idea what was coming next. 3 days after I mailed the envelopes, my phone rang. "Mom." I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad called. Ignored. Then Mom again. Ignored. I already knew what the messages would sound like. Confusion first, then anger. Finally, a voicemail came through. My mother's voice was tight and controlled. "Addison, we received some paperwork. Call us back immediately." I didn't call back. Not yet. Control was new to me, and I wasn't giving it up. Instead, I opened my email and saw the delivery confirmations. Both envelopes had been signed for that morning. That meant the clock had started. They had 10 days to respond. By day 4, the texts changed. "Mom, this is unnecessary." "Dad, you're overreacting." Mom again. "We can talk like adults." That one almost made me laugh. For years, talking meant them deciding and me accepting. Not anymore. On day 6, Dad finally said what he really meant. You're embarrassing this family. I stared at the message for a long time. That sentence used to control me. Now it just sounded small. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove back toward my hometown outside Columbus, not to see them, but to meet someone else. Mrs. Bentley, my childhood neighbor. She opened the door before I even knocked, like she had been waiting. I wondered when you'd come by, she said. Her house smelled like cinnamon candles and old books. We sat at her kitchen table, and I gently asked if she'd be willing to write down what she saw that day. She didn't hesitate. Oh, honey, she said, pulling out a pen. I saw everything. She described the timeline clearly, my parents carrying furniture outside, the storm starting, the items left unattended. She even printed the photo she had sent me. When she signed the paper, I felt something settle inside me. Truth, documented. On day 10, my parents responded, not with an apology, with denial. They claimed the furniture was abandoned property. They claimed they were cleaning the house. They claimed the rain was unexpected. Brooklyn wasn't surprised when I showed her the response. Okay, she said calmly. Now we file. Hearing those words sent a strange thrill through me. Not fear, momentum. Filing the claim in county court in Springfield was simpler than I expected. Forms, copies, filing fee. Done. It didn't feel dramatic, it felt official. That was the difference. Drama is loud. Power is quiet. 2 weeks later, they were served notice. This time, Dad called nonstop. I answered once. What are you doing? He demanded. Standing up for myself, I said. You're taking your parents to court over furniture? No, I replied calmly. Over respect. Silence. Then he tried a different strategy. We can just replace the mattress. Too late. We can talk about it. Too late. You're making a mistake. No, I had already made the mistake, believing they would ever treat me fairly without consequences. The hearing date was set for the following month. During those weeks, something unexpected happened. I stopped feeling like the injured daughter. I started feeling like an adult, building her own life. I bought a small used couch, a cheap desk, a new lamp. Not replacements, upgrades. Because none of those items carried the weight of my parents' control. The night before the hearing, Mom sent one final message. If you go through with this, don't come back. I read it twice. Then I set the phone down. I wasn't going back anyway. And tomorrow, for the first time in my life, they wouldn't be the ones in control of the room. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No dramatic music, no shouting. Just rows of wooden benches and quiet conversations. My parents were already there when I walked in. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father kept tapping his foot. For years, those small behaviors would have made me nervous. Today, they didn't. I sat down calmly and placed my folder on my lap. Everything inside it was organized. Receipts, photos, witness statement, timeline. Proof. When our case was called, we walked to the front together. The judge asked simple questions first. Who purchased the furniture? I did, I said. Do you have documentation? Yes. I handed over the receipts. My father tried to interrupt. She lived in our home. The judge raised a hand. You'll have time to speak. Then came the photos. The lawn, the rain, the mattress soaking through, the dresser swelling at the edges. My mother shifted uncomfortably. The judge examined the witness statement from Mrs. Bentley next. Then he asked my parents one question that changed everything. Did you place these items outside? My father hesitated. Yes, he said. And did you know a storm was coming? Silence. That silence felt louder than anything they had ever said to me growing up. The decision didn't take long. The judge ruled that my property had been damaged due to negligence. My parents were ordered to compensate me for the documented losses. Just like that. No yelling, no dramatic moment, just accountability. But the real ending didn't happen in the courtroom. It happened outside. My mother finally spoke. You're really doing this, she said quietly. I already did, I replied. My father shook his head. You've changed. And for the first time in my life, I agreed with him. Yes. We stood there for a moment, 3 people who used to be a family. Then I turned and walked away. No tears, no anger, just relief. 3 weeks later, the payment arrived. I didn't use it to replace the old furniture. I bought new things. A better mattress, a solid wood desk, warm lighting for my apartment, and something I had never owned before: peace. My apartment in Cleveland finally felt like home, not because of what was inside it, but because no one there could control me. Sometimes I think back to that rainy afternoon, my belongings scattered across the lawn. At the time, it felt like humiliation. Now I see it differently. That was the day my old life ended, and the day I learned something my parents never understood. Respect isn't given because someone is family. It's earned by how they treat you. And once you stop accepting less, everything changes.